Corona Cigar Company is your one-stop shop for all your cigar needs. Whether that's a brand new humidor, a box of those new cigars you've been waiting for, a top-of-the-line cutter or lighter, a place to enjoy the finest cigars and spirits with friends, or the only cigars grown right here in the Sunshine State, we've got you covered. Come visit one of our retail locations for the ultimate cigar experience. Visit us online at coronacigar.com.
How about that cigar?
Well, how about that cigar?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Corona Cigar Studios for episode 225 of How About That Cigar Live. Thank you so much for joining us while we are here live on Facebook, live on YouTube, and if you're listening after the fact on the audio podcast. Guys, thank you so much for making How About That Cigar a part of your regular audio podcast rotation. Take just a minute while we're live. Share us out with your favorite Facebook cigar groups. Let everybody know we're live. Join us in the comments. As always, let us know what you're smoking and let us know what you're drinking along with us. We have a fantastic special guest coming on in just a couple minutes. So if you have any questions, you can also leave those in the comments along with us. And it's...
I kind of feel lonely right now.
Why is that?
Because I think we need to get somebody on screen here.
You think?
Mr. Super Duper Producer Extraordinaire?
I think that's...
Dusty Smokes?
That might be like enough. Super duper. I think it's more. I think it's like ultra superlative...
Expialidocious?
Expialidocious producer.
You guys are just full of jokes tonight. What's up, everybody?
It's cold.
Cold? What do you mean cold?
No, what do you mean
It's like
cold?
one of the
It was
warmest days of the
beautiful.
week.
It's cold. It's cold. I mean, it's once it get honestly, I'm such a baby. The older I get, I'm such a baby. It gets below 60 and I start like
Even the dolphins make you cry?
yeah, pretty much. I just can't take it. I can't take it.
I thought it was beautiful.
I injured my arm last week
Yeah.
too, so I'm like being more of a crybaby than usual.
Yeah.
I stretched some tendons in my arm. And,
There's so many jokes I can go with.
oh
right there.
yeah. There's
There's
the
so many
they write
links.
themselves
Yeah.
basically.
So what didn't make you cry this week, though? You're going to tell us the news?
The new
News about the Green Bay Packers beating
Oh.
Kansas City.
So this is
That's
very
sports.
What?
You came up with the sports?
Justin with the sports reference.
Nice.
I'm so proud of you. You're
Oh.
growing as a person.
Oh,
I mean,
That's
even
right.
even though I know you really don't actually watch sports, and that's
I
okay.
did see
I'm
some highlights here and there.
highlights here and there. Yeah.
Game playing a like little Barbie birthday party I was at this weekend for my
Oh, Barbie
fiance,
birthday party.
Yeah, little niece. So they're
Oh.
watching the game in between
Nice.
there. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that the Packers beat the Lions on Thanksgiving was one thing, but then to beat Kansas City, I mean, I think it's arguable that Kansas City and Detroit are two of the best
Better
teams in
teams, yeah.
football. You know, probably I'd say they're both top 6 or 7 teams, definitely top 10 teams.
Yeah.
And for Green Bay to start out so shitty at the beginning of the season and to just progressively improve, steadily improve, I think it's a great thing to watch. I'm excited. How can
Yeah,
you not
you
be
should be.
excited? I'm sorry that your Jets
They stunk
Lost.
again, and the Vikings didn't play, so that's a win for us.
Vikings didn't lose.
But let's talk about the real travesty this weekend.
What is that?
College football.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
How do you jump from 8 to 4 to get in it? That is a bunch of BS. Alabama does not deserve to be in the championship rounds. And that's all I want to say about that.
Well, I won't say that I disagree with them being in the championship round. What I disagree with is Florida State being out.
Well, who else are you going to keep out? The other teams are undefeated too. It should have been Florida State. And then I know they say they're down to the third quarterback. Okay, then how about you put the team that beat Alabama this year, Texas, that was ahead of them?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like the way the system is set up.
No.
And I'm not saying
You're not saying it's rigged.
that's just it. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not saying that there's like this room of old guys in suits, with their maniacal laughs trying to figure out how to screw all the fans. I just think the system itself,
It's
because
flawed.
it's run by a committee. It's
Flawed.
actually called a committee.
Yeah.
And you can't you can't do that. There's enough smart people in the world who can take the actual stats on paper and this versus strength of schedule, strength of division or conference, all that stuff, and come up with an algorithm to make the perfect bracket for the same way they do for college basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, college basketball has it pretty dialed in. They can do the same. There's enough smart people to put all this stuff on paper and spit out the right results.
But saying all that, next year's format going to 12 teams,
I think that will help.
That would help, but there's still going to be 13 again. It's going to be mad.
I know. That's just it. There's always going to be teams and fans that are pissed off because their team didn't get in. But as long as they don't get in for the right reasons, like if on paper, at the end of the day, it's like, look, you didn't make it in. I'm sorry, but you just didn't perform well enough, versus just some people in a room making decisions with way too much of an arbitrary spin to it. I think it should be more analytics based.
I think you found your new job career.
There you go. There you go. I'll switch careers at 52. No problem.
No problem. You got that.
So, all of you guys know how I usually bring him a mystery bourbon whiskey. I changed it up on him and I brought him a rum.
So it's Puerto Rican rum month.
It's just rum, mainly.
There we go.
But the Caribbean is known for its rum, so there you go. She's clean. She's crystal.
It's a nice. I mean, I'm gonna take. I poured it in the glass about 20 minutes ago. Yeah. It's had some time to breathe and mellow out a little bit. It smells fantastic. You said this is cologne. From San Lucia.
Yeah. None of you guys answer because I know one of you guys are looking. Jason, he'll look it up.
Oh my gosh, it's good. It's good. It's a little thin. You know, I'm a texture guy. It's a little thin, but there's really no bite to it. It's got nice smoothness, nice sweetness, a little bit of funk, but not like a bourbon kind of funk, more like a rum kind of funk. You know, where I think this is most likely an agricole rum and not a molasses rum.
Which, you got me on that one.
It's more natural than just basically made. It's made or colored with, you know, it's more of a natural process than a.
It's not like I'm a mixologist or something like somebody else we know.
I know, right? One other thing I gotta. Oh, sorry, you were gonna say something.
No, go ahead.
So we mentioned last week that the Minnesota Wild coach got fired.
Yes.
They've actually been doing okay since he got fired. I'm not saying that they're playing better because that. It's so common that in any sport, if they fire the coach or the manager mid-season, then all of a sudden the team goes on a little bit of a hot streak.
Yep.
But that do I think that they're going to turn the season around? No. I think they still have horrible injuries and they got rid of too many key players, but they just have to play better.
But let's go on the other side of the city. Let's go to Minneapolis.
Okay.
How about them T-Wolves?
That's okay. Yeah. And
that's shocking.
People know I stopped following basketball about
since when Jordan got out of the league.
No, it was about 20 years ago. So after the Timberwolves had a good run in like 2004 with Garnett, and then we lost Garnett to the Celtics. I really just quit watching the game, and there wasn't any reason for it. It wasn't like I was pissed off at the league, or I just, you know. That's right around the time that, you know, kids started coming into my family and, you know, wanted to just pick and choose things to not spend so much time on. And one less sport for me to spend time watching was probably a good thing. But I love it. I think they only lost like 3 games.
Oh no, I know they're in a chair.
They really are doing well. And I won't say it's surprising from some of the analysts that I've seen talk about basketball so far this season, but if they keep playing like this, there's no reason they shouldn't be a playoff contender.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's going to be fun. I may even watch some games this year. Who knows?
May even go to one.
Yeah.
As long as I got my bulletproof vest and my drag.
Yeah, it's getting a little rough in Minneapolis. You know, you gotta be careful, especially at night.
Yeah, but you know the worst crime?
What's that?
Is there's a cigar lounge in Minneapolis. Oh my goodness!
So
we should call National Guard out.
for those of you who don't know, there's a city councilwoman in Minneapolis that just introduced a new bill, and you can read about this on Half Wheel, that just introduced a new bill so there's in the article and in the bill that this city councilwoman wrote, she calls it a loophole. It's not a loophole, but that's the word she uses. So in the state of Minnesota, there's an open regulation for cigar shops or tobacco shops that also sell hand-rolled premium cigars, and it's a sampling rule basically, where a customer can go in and purchase a product, and if the shop owner agrees to it, then that customer can sample that product on site,
sit down and enjoy premium cigar.
Exactly. And this city councilwoman is trying to get rid of that. And that will affect so it's starting off with Anthony's, which is in Northeast Minnesota or Northeast Minneapolis.
No, Southside.
Southside. Sorry. And it's it would affect Anthony's immediately because that's the district, I guess, where this city councilwoman that she represents.
Yep.
So for all our Minnesota viewers and listeners, go to Half Wheel and just search Minnesota, and you'll see the article there. And I think there's some information in there how you can go to the page of that city councilwoman and send her a note. Be respectful and be adult about this, and
be classy.
Be classy and like just say, look, we appreciate you, but we disagree completely with what you're doing. Make your voice heard, because that's what we have to do as cigar smokers. So
let's get our
special guest on the show, guys. And as always, on How About That Cigar Live, special guests are brought to us by our friends at Drew Estate. And Drew Estate originally introduced Chateau Real in 2007. Not long after that launch, this cigar brand mysteriously disappeared, and the story became that only of folklore, legend, and even controversy. Now, Drew Estate Chateau Real makes a triumphant return exclusively at Drew Diplomat Digital Retailers, a luxurious blend crafted to highlight the cigar's Connecticut shade-forward flavor. Its balanced blend of well-aged Nicaraguan binder and filler tobaccos are wrapped in a beautiful Connecticut shade wrapper leaf. This cigar is available in Robusto, Toro, and Churchill, only at Drew Diplomat online premium cigar retailers, presented in 20-count boxes. For more information, please visit drewestate.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you would please help us out, put your hands together. Welcome to episode 225 of How About That Cigar Live. From Light 'em Up World and Marifel Cigars, Reinhard Pohorec. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Welcome, brother.
Thank you so much for having me, and a very good evening to all of you.
Good morning to
you, and a very
sir.
Good morning to you, sir. 3:46 a.m.
Yeah, spot on.
If I'm not mistaken, and we know it's an early hour for you, and we're grateful. It's been a while since we've seen you in person, but this is your first ever appearance on How About That Cigar Live.
Welcome, brother.
And we are grateful to have you on.
I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you very much for having me. It's a privilege, really.
So normally right now we ask what our guests are smoking, but we know you're unable to smoke in your current location. But if you would please, two things. Let us know the beverage, the lovely beverage that you're enjoying, and also tell us just a little bit about that beautiful artwork behind you.
So in fact, I'll be chewing a little bit on this little sucker here. But
Very nice.
I poured myself a glass of cognac, one of my favorites.
Great with coffee, I heard.
Which I happen to have a certain involvement, or used to have a certain involvement with. In fact, I was just responsible to get that juice into the bottle. And the artwork behind me is, in fact, from a very good friend of mine who is a truly up-and-coming artist, a young lad from Austria. He's doing some fabulous stuff, and he made this one specifically for me inspired by the art of cigars and
Mm.
smoke and the enjoyment of premium cigars. So I'm very proud to have this here with me and to share it with you as well. At
I
least
love it.
Yeah.
That's a great piece. I love it.
slightly disturbed by my somewhat tired face at 3:48 in the morning. But
You
I
don't
hope
you
will
don't
love
look
it.
tired at all. You look fantastic, my friend.
Thanks for having me again.
Oh, of course.
Cheers to all of you. And if you happen to have a St. Lucia rum in your glass, because that was a guess. Well, I had the privilege of visiting the only one remaining distillery on St. Lucia, and that was a magical visit, I have to say.
Don't tell him.
If it's an agricole, then I hope it's Damoiseau, which is one of my favorites. But in any case, you'll enjoy it, and I'll have my little cognac with you.
Oh, it's very nice.
Salud.
It's very nice. This
Cheers, my friend.
and I think I'm going to get my cigar fired up. But again, thank you for sending us some beautiful cigars to enjoy and feature on the show tonight. And you know, a couple of weeks ago with Jeremiah, we were able to experience these for the first time, and you know,
They're fabulous.
yeah, no, you know, fluff or flattery whatsoever. Just honest, real talk. These cigars are incredible. They are absolutely incredible. So I think it's time for me to get this fired up. So give me a sec. I'm going to get our little friend here.
Get our booty boy.
Yeah.
I'm smoking the Mirror. Again.
Good.
I absolutely love this cigar. It's phenomenal. The retro hail is so clean and so smooth. Oh, it's a fabulous cigar. Thank you again for these.
Well, here's our little friend, Saka Squatch. As you know, we have our Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust toast cam. So it's time for me to get my cigar fired up on that very same Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust toast cam. Here we go. When lighting your cigar, it's important to be patient, pay close attention to detail, and focus on the tobacco. In the same way, Steve Saka brings those same qualities to the ultra-premium cigars of Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. Patience, close attention, and focus on the tobacco are the qualities that Saka and Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust have become known for. From Sober Mesa to Umbagog, Dunbarton has a blend that will fit your palate, your mood, and any occasion. Visit DunbartonCigars.com to learn more. It's amazing. I can do that all without even moving my lips.
Told you went to school of Angelicism. It's a pretty big cigar.
Very nice. Oh, this is happening. So good. So good. All right, let's get our little friend out of the way. Okay, Reinhard. Deep, hard-hitting questions here on the program this evening.
Bring it up.
Well, obviously, one of the first things that we love learning from our guests, because everybody's introduction to cigars is different, and there's so many unique stories out there. So tell us about your introduction to the world of premium cigars. If you remember what that first cigar may have been, where you were, who you were with, that kind of thing.
I remember it as if it were yesterday. Reason being, don't ask me why, but there was always something appealing to me about the idea of a well-dressed gentleman or lady having a proper drink and sitting down for a cigar. And when I turned 18 of legal age, I went to a local American bar in the city center, dimly lit, in a basement with a black piano with leather going all around, so you could sit at the piano. Jazz music, dimly lit, and back in those days, you could still smoke indoors. So I sat down and I had my first ever cocktail and my first ever cigar.
Mm.
Nothing spectacular. I have to confess, I didn't really know much about cigars back then, and I'm still only a student right now, many moons later. But it was a machine-made short filler cigar called Candlelight with a Brazilian wrapper. And by sheer coincidence, the tobacconist around the corner from where I live, still to this day, does not really have a proper humidor or a full-fledged cigar setup. So those were pretty much the only cigars that they carried. I mean, there were different ones, but I was just drawn to the Brazilian wrapper, so I went with that.
Well, and I appreciate the fact that you said still that you're still just a student, because and honestly, we all are, and even some of the people in the world of premium tobacco and premium cigars that we all know, whether we know them personally or whether we know them through shows like this, so many of what we consider as consumers and lovers of the art of great cigars, we consider them to be some of the greats of the industry. Yet they say about themselves that they're still learning, and that they always will be, and there's something to be said for that. I think whether it's somebody who produces cigars, or somebody who produces fine spirits, or a great brewer, that they're always exploring, they're always learning, and they're always humble about that.
I think you have to do that in life, though. In
I
general,
agree.
in life,
I agree. Yeah.
If you don't keep learning and evolving, almost,
Yeah.
And that pushes into cigars and bourbons and everything else.
Yeah, it's when we feel like we've got it all figured out that
then you get hit with a sledgehammer.
Something comes along. What
wouldn't that be boring? I mean, I'm just such a curious mind by nature, and always have been, right? So I feel the moment you stop, or you think you know it all, what's left, right? Mm-hmm. So that wouldn't be me, or it's not for me, at least.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we have come to enjoy about the show that you do, which we're definitely going to talk about a little bit. But I also am curious, sort of about your life, before where you're at now with Light 'Em Up World and Marifel Cigars, and you've had some interesting experiences. So Raul's going to ask a little bit about.
Let's hear about your mixology and that adventure.
Yeah,
and becoming one of the best in the world.
So let me start even before that. I told you about that experience when I went to that dimly lit American bar, mm-hmm. and had my first drink and my first cigar. Again, nothing special in terms of the cigar, and the drinks weren't all too fancy either. I think I had a BBC, they called it back then, Bailey's Banana and Cream. So you can imagine how that went. But the thing is, I always feel like I'm an old soul in a young body. But I had that love and appreciation for the finer things in life, for craftsmanship, and a simple, honest, humble product done by hand. I come from a very simple and humble background. Not to say poor upbringing, but just a normal working class family. And we never had much, but we had the family table. And so the earliest memories that I can recall always evolve around sitting around the table with my family, or standing in the kitchen with my grandfather, kneading dough and baking bread, and all these luscious scent memories of. We used to have a particular loaf of potato bread that smelled incredibly sweet and yeasty and just delicious. And whenever I came home, the entire hallway, everything was filled with that beautiful scent. And there I felt safe and at home and comfortable. And I think we all have that, those wonderful memories that are always linked to our sensory perception, to food and drink and smell and taste, that immediately transport us back in time to a place we consider home, or a place of comfort. And there's a certain fascination around that always stuck with me. And I did a few things in life, right? I studied socioeconomics, I worked with handicapped pupils, I'm a skiing instructor, and almost became a professional drummer. But eventually the way led me back to my roots, as I consider it. And to that very passion, evolving around food and drink, smell and taste, sensory perception in general, and the transformative power of an experience that you can have just for yourself or share with other people, but that is so deeply linked with your sensorium and with your emotions. And there's reasons for that, that you can scientifically research, even as to how our sensations of scent in particular are directly wired with our limbic system, and with a certain part in our brain that is also responsible for memories and emotions. And that's why there is even such a thing like soul food, or these memories that will immediately transport you back in time. So I ended up at the Wine and Spirit Education Trust with very little previous experience about wines, to be honest. But there it was, the first glass in front of me for a blind tasting. And I had learned all these things about history and geography and soil and climate and terroir. And the one thing that I love about these handcrafted products, whether it's a great produce, it's a great meal, whether it's a wonderful drink or a cigar, it's all linked with the people, with the land. It's an expression of history, of cultures. And yet you can smell it, you can taste it, and you can immediately perceive it and get a grasp for it through your perception. And to link that, the rich learning with the actual sensory experience, for me, was the magic. And that just, was the light bulb moment, and when I fell down the rabbit hole and embarked on this whole journey of sensory and the gourmet world and the finer things in life. And so that stuck with me. I specialized on spirits in particular and fortified wines, became an official cognac educator with the BNIC, sherry educator with the Consejo Regulador, certified advisor of spirits. And because I also wanted to put a more practical side to it, I started bartending, and soon then started to develop an international network. I had the privilege and honor of serving as a bartender and mixologist at the world famous American Bar de Savoy in London, which back then was awarded world's best bar and is probably the oldest bar still in existence, responsible for iconic creations like a Hanky Panky cocktail from Ada Coleman, who used to serve as a head bartender there. Helped co-open a gin craft distillery in London, and I worked for a consultancy company before moving back to Austria and starting my own business about 10 years ago. And so, yeah, there were all sorts of different entrepreneurial spotlights here and there, and certain things that I was fortunate to experience throughout my career. And it was always somehow linked to those very early memories of mine and to my roots, as I said. And I'm grateful that through my professional endeavors, I could rediscover the whole world and truly where I come from.
You said you have an old soul and a young body. How old are you?
35.
Asking. Done a lot for a 35-year-old.
Yeah. As I said, I just consider myself fortunate in that sense, and it's crazy how time flies, and probably a sign of getting older that you repeatedly hear yourself referring to that. But I just try to make the most out of my time in the days that I'm blessed with.
Yeah. Well, and I really appreciate the fact that I appreciate this journey that you've been on, because that's, I think, also something that's really important. And I'm speaking in terms of sensory experiences, because I agree with you 100%. And I've learned a lot of this from people in the world of premium cigars. I've learned a lot of it from people in the world of wines, specifically, that, and even some American spirits, that the sensory experiences are way more linked than a lot of people realize, and maybe even people come to gain a greater understanding for and respect of the craft that goes into these products. And like you said, Reinhard, the people and the cultures that go into these products, because they end up going together with, whether it's wine in a particular country or region of that country, with the, I mean, like Southern Italian food can have very different characteristics than Northern Italian food. And the same is true with Southern Italian wines and Northern Italian wines, or wines and foods from different regions of France or Spain or Portugal. And the same is true with cigars from Nicaragua or Dominican Republic or Cuba or Honduras, and the beverages that people enjoy in those cultures and the foods that people eat in those cultures. And it really does, when my eyes were open to it, and I continue to try to dive in as much as I can, because I'm fascinated by the way all these things go together. And I learned from a sommelier years ago that this little rhyme that helps to just bring me back and remind me to focus on flavor and aroma is that what grows together goes together. And I keep that in my mind at all times. And even just here around town, when I'm at a restaurant locally, or a local microbrewery or a distillery that's local, and just trying to, even having fun with my wife or friends of ours, just taking a few, little brief moments during those gatherings with friends and family to stop for a minute and just take a really close notice of what I'm smelling, what I'm tasting, and try to, I almost play a game with myself to try to decipher it. Have you kind of felt the same way as you in your travels and in your experiences with learning about different tobaccos and learning about how being able to pair things with cigars, or being able to pair different beverages with foods, that sometimes we get so caught up in the busyness of things that we have to take little moments to stop and just notice what's going on with the food and the drink?
Look, honestly, I believe we need to be more deliberate, and we need to be more attentive and appreciative of so many little moments and treasures in our lives. Just the moment when you pour a glass, and when you take a scent and you take a sip, or when you cut your cigar and when you light it and take that first puff, just take that moment and be present, and let it embrace you with all it has to offer, with all the charm and the uniqueness and the coziness and warmth of it, no matter how busy life around you might be. And in fact, that's what I always loved about the world of cigars. For me, a cigar, it means time. It's the time that you take for yourself, all the time that you present other people with when you share that experience. And that's magical. It's a mystical moment, and to be reflective and to take that moment deliberately and sit back and reflect, that is so precious and so important. And today more than ever, I think we have forgotten that, or we're on the verge of losing that, because life is so busy and there's always something going on. The world is just outright crazy with everything that's going on. And then you throw technology and digitalization and artificial intelligence on top of it, and it just becomes a huge mess. And in that, take those moments and just reflect and let the experience embrace you is more important than ever. So I can very much relate to everything that you said, Matt. I couldn't agree more with you, and I truly hope that some of my work can be an inspiration for other people, or an invitation to also take these precious moments and just enjoy them and embrace them for what they are, as small as they might be or as short as they might be. But those are those mini moments every single day that will just take your life to a whole new level, I feel.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
used, if I may share this with you, I
Definitely,
used to
yes.
offer in lectures and seminars that I gave, I used to offer a thought for the evening, whether you say your evening prayers or you just sit down and reflect or meditate at night. Think about 3 moments that made you happy that day, as humble and simple or irrelevant as they might be. Just the sheer fact that I'm sitting here with you and having a great conversation with a wonderful beverage and an incredible cigar in front of me. That is such a precious moment. And when you look back on your last day and you just reflect on 3 moments of pleasure or joy that you had, and you take that feeling, that sensation to your heart, and you just say your gratitude and say your thanks for it, and you do that every day, not only does it bring you joy for that day, but you will find yourself looking for those specific moments every day thereafter, because at night you have to sit down and you have to reflect on 3 things that were memorable and beautiful that day, and you become more attentive to those little sparkles of magic.
Hmm.
And I feel it has a transformative power, and this beautiful thought. And people who know me will always say I'm a hopeless optimist, and maybe a bit stubborn in my, well, you could call it maybe idealistic, or just positive and hopeful perspective on life. But I'd rather have it that way than any other way.
Well, the term I would use is you are a romantic. and that is, I say that in the best possible terms, in that if you take positivity and you take a reflective nature, personally reflective and reflective on your thoughts and the people around you and the moments in life, reflective on your place in this world and your responsibility as a part of this world and things like that, and then tie all that in with appreciation for the things that are around you. I mean, that brings me back to that's the term that just fits. You are a romantic, and that's what romanticism is. That whether you're talking about the that period in history called the Romantic period, whether it's the composers or the artists, the painters, the sculptors, the writers, that was their outlook, was taking all of the art from that period, was doing just that, was with deep appreciation, looking at the moments around them. And it just seems like that's how you live. And I think I love it. I think it's fantastic. We could all definitely learn from that.
Sure.
Thank you for saying that, Matt. And one thing I would like to add is it's not just about being blind to what's happening in the world, or just running around like a pink pony and everything is beautiful and happy and dandy.
Right.
We all know life's not always that. And it was tragic circumstances that even led me on my path of my professional career. It was a severe illness that forced me to reconsider life and rediscover my roots. And I think there's always tragic elements to every person's story and to everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can myself think about how do I want to reflect on every day and how do I want to perceive the life in the world around me, why not do it in a most positive and appreciative way and grateful way? Because so much of our reality is composed by our reflections and our perceptions and the way we think about our relationships and the things that happen to us, with us, and by us. And if that's the case, then if we all had a little more love and appreciation and positivity for ourselves and to share with other people, how beautiful of a place the world could be, you know? And I firmly believe that we just need a bit more positivity deeply engraved in our hearts and souls and in our DNA in order to be able to share that with other people and make the world a beautiful place.
Yeah.
You know, I think you and Jeremiah, just the way you're talking, and he brought it up as a light. He wanted to be a light in everyone's day. And you have that same aura about you that you want to give the light out. I think that's beautiful. You tell you guys are close and you work together a lot.
And that's a great segue, because one of the things that because you and I have only talked in person briefly, Reinhard, and you know, I'm so grateful to have this time to really get to know you better, because I'm very curious how you and the Meripfel family, you know, came to know each other and how that turned into a professional relationship.
Well, to be honest, when I first met Jeremiah and we were having a conversation similar to this one here, something clicked, and I think we both realized that there was a special tension and a special relationship and connection and connectivity at the same time, based on shared values and the way we look at things, the way we reflect about life and experience, enjoyment. And based on that, a special relationship was formed from the get-go that we fortunately had the privilege of deepening and exploring and getting to know each other better before we started exchanging ideas and spoke more about concepts that could possibly be created. And then eventually Jeremiah asked me, and still to this day, I'm very humbled by that and extremely grateful for it, if I could imagine dedicating some of my time and my resources and energy to his project of heart. I can't say it any other way, you know, to his life's quest expressed in an incredible cigar. And I dare calling it I don't even know what to say it, you know, whatever you say, it doesn't do justice to it, because it's neither a cigar nor a project nor a brand nor a business. It's just it's a vision. It's a dream that took form, or that materialized in what the family has always been dedicated to, and that is the very best tobaccos and wonderful cigars. And that manifestation is extremely precious and something that I felt privileged to really dedicate my time and my energies towards. And that's how eventually we found each other and started to work together on this vision and that materialization of it in form of Meripfel Cigar.
Do you I'm curious as a story when you first met Jeremiah. What event was it? At an event? Was it at How did that come to pass?
So it was quite a few years ago where we first met because of the challenging circumstances of that time during a light 'em up lounge, screen to screen. And that's what strikes me is even then it was like my screen was on fire and like something special happened right then and there. And I immediately knew there is a very special connection with that human being I was privileged to have a conversation with for the last 2 hours, 3 hours. I don't even know how long we've been on the show, but
Yeah.
It was one of these moments, you know.
Kindred spirits.
Absolutely.
Like-minded and
soulmates, partners, whatever you want to call it, you know, it was special.
And I'm thinking back to something you said a few minutes ago about, you know, when I had brought up the romantic period and things like that, and you mentioned, you know, tragedy, and that's actually that's a great observation on your part, that you know, things, because if you look at world history, actually just before and during the romantic period, it wasn't great. There was a lot of bad stuff going on around the world, and yet and this happens so often with artists of all different types of art throughout history, that they use their art and they use their voice to either distract from the tragedy for the sake of people's mental health and their own mental health, or they can also they can delve into the tragedy in order to tell a story, and so that future generations know, almost in a historic preservation type of way. But there's something to be found in the balance, and this is just kind of hitting me, and this is maybe, you know, run through my brain at some other point in my history, but there's something to be found in the balance, and you see it in life, in the circumstances that we go through on a daily basis as people, as members of our families, our relationships with people, the ups, the downs, we have family and friends who we love dearly who go through illnesses. We lose family and friends. We have, you know, we have areas that are torn by war or famine or all other types of, you know, problems. Yet there seems to be something within the artists who support those communities that brings about a balance that can
shine a light.
It can shine a light, and it can also be a moment to focus on something beautiful instead of something that maybe is going on in your life or around your life in your community that's not good.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking now of food and cigars and wines and spirits and the things that we consume. And balance is so important, because in a great cigar, if it was all just sweet, it would not be a great cigar. The bitterness has to be there to balance it out. And the same is true with the meal. The it has to be balanced, sweet and bitter and salty, and the texture has to be there. And sometimes the texture is rough in different foods, but that's life. I mean, sometimes the texture of our life is rough, and so many of the things that if whatever our circumstances are, if we're able to take a minute, like you said, Reinhard, and find those lights, find those moments of light and focus, then there's always going to be a balance between the sweet, the salty, the bitter, and whatever else.
The sour.
You know, the sour. Yes. And we man, I'm just sorry. Just the way you think and the way you express these things, Reinhard, just really takes me into this philosophical, introspective kind of realm. And I dig it. I just really, it really kind of opens my mind to just start thinking through life processes and things like that. And I appreciate it very much.
Thank you so much. And not only do I think about it the same way, but to add to that also, I think there is a transformative power in every aspect of tragic or devastating and challenging circumstances as well. The Maripel family being a perfect example of that, which I believe is also part of why we have such a close connection and why I very much feel as part of the extended family, if I may. And you see that with everything, you know. Challenging circumstances always have an incredible energy around them. And it is our choice as to how we use that. And either it goes to a very dark place, which is truly tragic, or you manage to take that energy and transform it into something extremely powerful and beautiful, because it fuels your creativity, it fuels your passion, and it fuels your resilience, or your ability of resilience to go against the challenge and the adversity and to overcome that and turn it into something that can be just extremely powerful and beautiful. I always loved the image of the phoenix that just rises from the ashes and turns into that magical creation or creature of light and beauty and fire and energy, right? And that to me is a wonderful symbol of how I think about life in general and a lot of challenging circumstances. And the tobacco industry and the cigar industry, we all know that is a perfect resemblance of that, or a perfect expression of that. So many hardships and so many challenges that we had to overcome, and where all that energy was taken and used for something positive, ultimately again manifested in a product that brings joy and pleasure to other people. That's what I love about it, and that's why I never thought about work, you know, in that sense, because for me it's a calling. It's the opportunity to offer a spark of light in our everyday lives.
Yeah.
Through these extremely magical products.
I agree. And so many years ago, we've all gone through our learning experiences in life, and Luciano's got a great comment. Tragedy gives us pain. Pain is energy that, when catalyzed, transforms into blessings to others. Pain is the only way we can understand happiness. And that's very true. And sometimes the pain is self-inflicted. And by that, I mean that we learn, hopefully we learn from our own mistakes, you know, and it's, it's the grown-up version of, you know, the young child touching the hot stove after mom said, don't touch that hot stove. It's going to hurt. And many years ago, in my younger adult life, I learned a powerful, valuable lesson through screwing up myself. Yeah, hard to believe, right? But through
all three of us had this
through basically, I had one of those moments in my life where I said to someone not in so many words, basically saying to this person, that's not my job.
It's not a good leader.
and I just, within a very short period of time, I realized what a horrible mistake I had just made.
Oh, yeah.
And I went back to this person and I apologized, and I've been trying to learn from that moment ever since, you know, and that is one of the things that has stuck with me ever since I had this thing that happened 25, 30 years ago. Was I said, I'd never want to miss an opportunity to serve somebody. And that was an opportunity to serve somebody, and I blew it. Now, fortunately, I was able to learn from it, but I've been just trying to hammer that home ever since, is to not miss an opportunity to serve somebody. And I think we can do that through the community that Cigars brings us. And one of the things, Reinhard, that you have done is built a really strong community for people in the world of premium cigars, consumers, manufacturers, retailers, so many others. Talk to us a little bit about Light 'em Up World, Light 'em Up Lounge, why you started it, and what it has meant to you and the people who enjoy that since it's begun.
Matt, the simple answer is it's just a culmination of everything we spoke about during the show. It's an expression of that. It's a simple and humble wish to serve and to bring people together and to give everybody an opportunity to spend a valuable moment with each other, freely and openly expressing their thoughts and their opinions, sharing a cigar in the moment, because the cigar is always that perfect magical wand that brings everybody together, and have an open and honest conversation. And because I believe, and if I may say, I believe because that was always the inspiration and the fuel of it, or the foundation, it brought in people who appreciate that and who can contribute to that. And at large, I think the cigar industry is such a place, such an industry, and such a community where you find a lot of people who will be able to appreciate that or reflect on that, because of what the cigar does to us and how it brings us all together in terms of being such a unifying element and such a humble product that just takes a step back and gives you the opportunity to reflect whilst you enjoy it and link all your emotions and your memories and your sensory experience together into something. Yeah, I keep saying the word magical or mystical, right? Because that's the only way I can express it. But Light 'em Up is just that. It's a reflection and manifestation of my wish to serve, to build community, to bring people together, and to have a conversation over a cigar about anything and everything, pretty much. And I hope that whoever joins or participates in one of our shows in the live lounges just feels that and can share that and take some of that as an inspiration to their daily lives, and then come back and have another moment. It's the extended arm of your brick and mortar physical cigar lounge.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say for myself, having been fortunate enough to be on the show and in the live lounge, and also watching many of the interviews and conversations, that it is just that. It's open conversations about, it's interesting because there's not typically, kind of like what we've been doing tonight, there's not typically a great deal of cigar talk. It's a lot of talk about relationships and life experience and families and ups and downs and things like that. And not that I don't love hearing from great tobacco minds about, different primings and different processes, because I absolutely do love to learn those things. But I also love learning about people's backgrounds and people's stories. And that's one of the great things that you do. You bring that out in people and just in the way that you converse with them, because you're a natural storyteller. And part of being a natural storyteller from your perspective is helping draw those stories out of the people that you converse with. And I just love to see the great variety of people that you've been able to talk to on that program.
Two things to that. I think what's special about Light 'em Up is also that it's all about participation. It's not a static broadcast or format where you just watch or listen, but it's all about people being there with us at the lounge, asking questions. And when do you have the opportunity to sit down with people like a Jeremiah Maripfel or Carlito Fuente as a consumer and to really ask them questions right then and there, whatever it's going to be? There's no script. I cannot control the questions that our guests or participants will ask, right? But I think we managed to create an atmosphere and an environment of comfort and safety and respect, first and foremost, that protects everybody therein. That's one aspect. Second aspect, thank you for the very kind words and the warm words in regards to where conversations might lead you. I realized something over and over again during the shows, and just last week, for example, we had Robert Glick from Arte Fumar, and I said the very same thing to Robert during the show. Speaking about certain values, about life in general, about our experiences, our families, whatever it might be, and reflecting our past, our present, our future, without talking primings, tobaccos, blends necessarily, tells you just as much or even more about the actual product and subject at hand than if you were to just confront it head first.
Right.
And why is that? Because I think as an artist or a craftsman, whatever you do is an expression and a reflection of your innermost self. And if you're true and honest, if you're sincere in your intentions and how you create, your products will always be the quintessential manifestation of who you are. And so to sit here and talk with you about life and your experiences and your past, man, tells me everything I need to know about you at the core, your heart and soul. And that tells me everything about how about that cigar, And vice versa, I think you having a conversation with me will give you a fair idea and understanding of who I am and where I come from, which is expressed hopefully in everything that I do every single day, whether that is, my dedication to Maripfel Cigar, because it's all of that. It's family, it's history, it's values, or Light 'em Up as just a community that has no other intention or purpose other than serving and bringing people together. When we just sit down and we take away all the bullshit and the stuff that we put in front in order to hide, and oftentimes marketing or coming up with fluffy impressions and words is just because we're afraid to show our innermost self and who we are. if you strip all of that away and you go to the core and to the substance, and you have an open, honest conversation with the person, with the soul behind it, it tells you everything there is, and everything you need to know about their product and their creation.
Yes, 100%. I don't recall there was a sometime, I believe in the 20th century, some famous business person, I don't recall who, but it's one of those sort of quotes that's always stuck in my head, is that when I think they were being asked about how they were successful and things like that, and they said too many business people try to push their products, and they forget that they are the product. That they are their genuineness with their customers, and whether their customer is a viewer or a listener or a consumer that buys their product or a distributor or whatever it may be, that if you don't make yourself available to your customers, and available meaning open and honest, because if available doesn't mean answering the phone whenever it rings, because if you answer the phone every time it rings, but every word that comes out of your mouth after you answer the phone is bullshit, like you said, Reinhard, that's not going to work. And I think that you have embraced that that ideal, that you are the product, and you're regardless of what it is, whether it's, you know, helping like-minded people organize events or sensory experiences, or the work you're doing with Marifel Cigars or anything else, you have embraced the fact that if you're not available to the people that you are serving, then the product doesn't really matter. And I really appreciate that approach.
Thank you, man.
So one of the things that we've been asking people the last couple of weeks, because, you know, November, December.
Before you get into that,
oh yeah, go ahead.
I got a quick one. Going back a little bit, are you still involved in the spirit world as far as beverages, and you said you had some work on that cognac? Are you doing anything else besides that with your beverages, with your beverage experience?
Well, I think when you're handling something as precious and important as a family legacy, Marifel Cigar, that is 3 full-time jobs and some on top of it, and almost impossible to. I mean, those are shoes to fill, and the responsibility to carry that I can barely even describe, and the sense of responsibility that I feel for it, and the joy that it brings, you know, is tremendous. So that is really what I do and what I focus on. The wonderful thing is, you know, creativity and artistry, or whatever you want to call it, craft never stops. So there's always sprinkles and sparkles and ideas, and with something as beautiful as a cigar, you have the opportunity to bring it together and make it one holistic experience. And that's something that I very much focus on and try to offer with Marifel Cigar as well, is making people aware of what it is, what's actually behind it, the incredible depth and substance there is in terms of the family history, but also what it can be in terms of the experience to be had and everything that goes around it. So we focus a lot on the enjoyment of the cigar in a more holistic setting, and how that could be enriched by things like great food, an exceptional drink to go with it, music, artistry, all these things that touch you emotionally and that give you an experience of pleasure, or that might sometimes even challenge you, and trigger you, not only in a always fluffy and pleasing way, exactly what we discussed before, to also offer that element of challenge and hardship,
Tension.
but tension, exactly.
Yeah.
And that creates something that is so much more than just the sum of its parts. And so I think everything that I have done so far in my life comes into the picture and creates something that is much broader than just a simple job or a job profile or one specific task. I always see it as a very dynamic creative expression and service that has many different facets and can express itself in many different ways. I know that's not really a straight or a very direct answer to your question, but that's how I see it, and that leaves a lot of room for different inspirations. And I think that eventually, Merapfel Cigar and the whole idea of a maison Merapfel, can have a lot of facets and different expressions.
Okay. One of the reasons why I asked that question is because he was bragging about your mixology skills and how we asked him, "What's your favorite beverage?" And he said, "Whatever he makes me."
Yeah.
So that's what made me want to bring that idea up. And
That it brings joy to my heart and a smile to my face. It's I don't know if you can compare it. People will probably say it's like riding a bicycle. You never unlearn that or lose that. And I feel the same about hospitality and gastronomy, food and drinks. If you have that in you, it'll always be with you.
Mm.
Same for the music. I'm a drummer. I'm a singer. You can't put me in front of a live band without being there, tapping something, clapping, starting to sing. It's just part of my DNA. And if you put a couple of bottles in front of me, and the glass, I'll always whip up a mean drink for you.
I love it. Well, one of the things we're curious about is different ways that people celebrate their holidays with family and friends. And November and December, around a lot of parts of the world are very busy with families and friends getting together and celebrating. So tell us and obviously here, in the States, it's possible that we celebrate a little differently than you do where you live and where other people around the world live. So tell us something that's unique and that a lot of people would consider non-traditional, if at all, if that happens at all with your family and friends, the way that you celebrate during Christmas and the holiday season.
I'm afraid I'll disappoint you, but I believe it's so utterly boring in the most beautiful and charming way. I love Christmas. It's one of my absolute favorite times of the year. And just through that wall over there is my grandma, and she will turn 103 in January, and I'm taking care of her. So we'll be with grandma. My brother and his 3 lovely kids and his wife will be with us. My parents, Christine, my lady, and we'll be together. And we usually have fish on the 24th in the evening, and then on the 25th we'll be with Christine's family. And so it's all about family, food, stories. Reading the Christmas story from the Evangelium, and having a good drink maybe, and some nice food. and a good conversation, and it's in that sense it's incredibly boring, and I love it.
No, that's and we're kind of the same way. My family, and I think I mentioned this last week, that we really do. There's nothing super out of the ordinary. It's I absolutely love Christmas. I've talked about this before. I only listen in my headphones now because I start listening to Christmas music in October, and it annoys everybody else. So I just listen in my headphones, so I won't bother other people who don't like to listen to Christmas music in October.
That's too early, my brother.
It's not too early. It's
That's
not
way too early.
I will never change. But
one thing we'll do, Matt, is usually we take long walks, and I hope that we will have some white Christmas this year. Maybe it snowed an awful lot in Vienna over the last couple of days, so right now it's beautiful. It hopefully might be an early sign of a white Christmas, hopefully.
yeah.
And then just some long walks, and I love presents, to be honest.
Oh, of course.
I know usually as grown-ups you always say, well, another pair of socks, or shorts, because at some point you just lose all creativity as to what you can present your better half with. I like to find these little thingies, and I love presents, and I always want to have a little surprise under the Christmas tree. And
Yes.
So
Yes.
I usually go hunting for a little surprise here and there.
Oh, that's one of my favorite things too. Seeing other people open, whether it's my kids or my wife, seeing them open gifts. It's one of my favorite things all year.
My favorite thing about Christmas is my sisters come over and they make Puerto Rican meals.
Oh,
Arroz con pollo, or
yeah.
pernil and tostones. Yeah,
Beautiful.
that's
Yes.
what I look forward to.
Yes, we've already bought the what we affectionately from Dr. Seuss call the roast beast, a large standing rib roast. So that's in the freezer, and we'll make that for Christmas Eve, the 24th, and we have the whole family over to our house on Christmas Eve, extended family, and then Christmas Day, it's just us. That's very important to us. It's just my wife and kids and the dogs, and that's it. Just us.
Unfortunately, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, I'll be at the firehouse.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for your service.
Yeah.
So I think
Is it time?
it is.
I think it's time.
All right, guys, it is now time for this week's
Numero de los Muertos.
And as always, Numero de los Muertos, brought to us by our friends at Smoke Inn. All right, Numero de los Muertos, episode 225. This week, the number is, on average, since the study was, the numbers are from early 1990s to mid 2000s, and the average number per year is 8.
8. Okay.
Fiction or reality?
This is fact, real. And Reinhard, you know the drill with Numero de los Muertos. Please feel free to jump in with questions to try to decipher things for our viewers. If you guys have questions, please throw those in the comments, and let's figure out what this is, guys.
Matt, you said there's scientific research or a study done on this.
I shouldn't say study. It's essentially just the statistics from, and these numbers are from the United States. These are official death statistics, cause of death, and this I'm looking for more than just a cause. This is also a very specific location for this particular type of cause of death.
And it's roughly about 15 years.
Is the location a workplace accident?
It could be, but rarely. Most of it's accidental.
Accidental.
Yeah.
And it's 15 years, roughly.
Roughly 15 years that these numbers show this average of 8 per year.
On land?
On land, yes.
Okay.
So it's a very recent phenomenon also.
Yes.
Does it involve modern technology?
No.
Are vehicles involved?
Vehicles are not involved.
Are group gatherings involved?
It's possible. I don't think it's relevant to this particular stat.
Disease related?
Not disease related.
Does alcohol have anything to do with it?
I would say it's possible in some of those cases, yes, but it's not a deciding factor.
So what was big in the 90s?
90s.
And I'll say to steer you off of that it's particular to this time frame.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that still happens today, but this particular set of stats is from 1990 to 2006. That during that time frame, it averaged 8 per year.
It's a comparatively low number, I guess, right?
Right.
Yeah, it is.
Now I'll say, on average, 8 per year died from this, but an estimated 86,000 injuries.
Whoa.
Pickleball.
Not pickleball. I don't think pickleball existed in 1990.
Is it a
Sure.
sport related thing at all?
Not sport related.
Okay.
No.
Does it have anything to do with the upcoming holiday season?
No.
Okay.
Death by candy cane.
Death. No. Death by icicle.
Is it a
Alright.
crime?
Is it a crime? No.
Okay.
These are accidental.
Accidental.
Yeah.
Okay. Falling from something?
Yes.
Ooh. Okay. Falling.
Falling from something.
And 38,000 people.
68,000.
68,000.
Oh, sorry. 86,000
86,000
injuries
Injuries a year?
per year
Holy
on average during that time
Falling-
frame.
Falling from something. That's a lot of falls.
Is it skateboarding or
Nope.
bicycle?
Does it have to do with like mountains or anything?
No mountains.
No mountains. Are we in the desert?
It could be. It's
Could be.
not. It's not related to a particular
Huh?
geographical or.
Is the thing they fall from something natural or man-made?
Man-made.
Is it some of these
Great question, Reinhard.
Yeah. Is it some of these people that like climbing buildings and they wind up falling off thinking they're Spider-Man?
Nope.
Falling downstairs?
Not stairs.
Escalators?
Not bungee jumping, Tony.
Not bungee.
Not escalators. Now, I'll tell you, here's a big hint.
All right.
This is a big hint.
Uh-oh.
When I went looking for this, it's because I was looking for this is okay. So I went looking for a stat related to theaters.
Falling from a catwalk.
Stage
No.
diving.
Falling off the stage?
No,
Stage
not
diving?
stage diving. I was looking for stuff related to theaters, movie theaters, and live theaters.
Okay.
You know, stage theaters.
Yeah.
That's what took me down this rabbit hole, but they don't delineate out.
Falling.
Yes,
Fall?
Jason Pohl falling off a balcony. So I had heard a story about somebody who fell off a balcony at a theater.
Okay.
And right away, I thought, hey, that's a good idea for Numero de los Muertos. Well, all the balcony death stats are like balconies on hotels, balconies on apartment buildings. It didn't delineate between theaters and all that. So these are all mixed into one. But I was actually surprised when it was only 8 per year on average.
But 86,000 a year fall off a balcony at
86,000 injuries.
Holy.
Yeah. And so
theater?
Yeah.
70, big surprise here. 70% of the cases were male.
Okay.
Big surprise.
Right.
But I was also surprised by this. 63% of those were adults. I was concerned that a lot of those were going to be kids, but it's not. The majority are adults. So that's why, Reinhard, your question about alcohol probably comes into play there. What is it? 94% of injury events occurred at the home, and 24% of patients were hospitalized, and 8 patients on average per year died.
Okay.
So I just couldn't break it down by just theaters only.
Yeah.
I really wanted the theater stat, but they just don't have that. So that's all right. That's all right. So that was this week's Numero de los Muertos. All right, let's jump into the lightning round.
We have
that's right. We can't skip over this. So I will say that I like this rum a lot because it's not too sweet. Some rums, if they're heavy molasses rums, they're just way too sweet. We were talking about balance earlier. This one has balance. It's got that grassy sugarcane natural funk to it, but it does have enough sweetness. The texture is a little too thin for my taste, but I do really enjoy it, and it's got a great nose.
Matt, is it funkiness as in high ester, like Jamaica, or more like natural sugarcane juice, like in an agricole, where it's green, grassy?
Yeah, it's more that green, grassy. I guess that's when I say funk. That's kind of what I mean. It's sort of got that grassy, natural, almost herbaceousness kind of to it. But I enjoy it. If the texture was a little thicker, I would just be in love with this.
It's called Chairman's Reserve, the Forgotten Cast.
Very nice. Yeah, it's a really good pour. I really enjoy it. So if they have, I would want to learn more about the distillery and see if they try some other varietals from that distillery to find one that maybe has a little more age, because that can tend to bring on the thicker, more dense texture. But yeah, very nice.
Say how old this one is. It does not.
Yeah, rums. Depending on where it's
extra
from.
Aged. Actually.
Extra aged. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which usually doesn't say an awful lot.
Yeah, doesn't. And it's probably a blend from different barrels and different years. So, but yeah, it's a nice pour. Thank you for this one.
No problem.
All right, let's jump into the lightning round, brought to us by our friends at J.C. Newman, America's oldest family-owned premium cigar maker, creators of the popular Brick House, Perla Del Mar, Diamond Crown, and The American. J.C. Newman Cigar Company operates out of their 112-year-old El Reloj cigar factory in historic Cigar City, Tampa, Florida. For more information on their cigars or visitor experience, please visit jcnewman.com. All right. So, Reinhard, these are the fun questions, not related to cigars in any way, shape, or form. If you could hear the thoughts of one living person for 10 minutes, who would it be and why?
Oh, my lady, I'd be curious.
You are very brave. I commend you.
Bring it on.
I am not brave enough to hear my wife's thoughts. I'm not brave. I'm scared. I admit it.
I ain't doing it.
I admit it. All right. So, Reinhard, if you were about to get into a fight, what would your soundtrack music be?
Good old fashioned fisticuff.
I always loved Hans Zimmer, so I would love to get a soundtrack from him.
Would you want an original, or would you want to take if you were to take from one of his movies? What's your favorite Hans Zimmer movie score?
Last Samurai.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
And I'll tell you why. There's many great ones where the music is incredibly impressive and expressive, but I think that in Last Samurai, it's funny, we're going back to the same points we discussed, but the pain and the hardship in the main character is just so perfectly expressed in the music. And when you think about the final part of the score, the last piece of music, you know, there's like a whining sound almost in that traditional Japanese instrument. It almost sounds like a violin, but it's not. Like,
right.
And that it tears my heart apart, but in the most positive and loving and caring and hopeful way. Even, you know, that idea of hopefully he found peace somewhere in the tranquility of the mountains, and that expressed in the music is just magical.
Yeah. No, he's been one of my favorites. I mean, John Williams is obviously, I mean, well, I won't say obviously. In my opinion, John Williams is the greatest of all time, but Hans Zimmer is one of my absolute favorites. I still have a soft spot for Backdraft, even though it was one of his earlier films. I love the stuff he did on Backdraft because it was just so raw. And even though I know from a firefighter perspective, it's a very unrealistic film, Raul, I'm sorry about that. But the music, the score from Hans Zimmer was really, really well done. So let's do the.
You want to do it?
No, you go ahead. When
it comes to fast food, what's your most overrated fast food and underrated fast food, if you even eat fast food?
Right.
Very rarely, I have to say. So I have limited experience with it. What's overrated?
Everything.
I think just a simple burger is overrated.
Yeah.
I know I'll get trash.
No, there's nothing wrong with that.
Especially when it's just plain with nothing in it, right? If it's 2 pieces of bread with a brick of meat in the middle. Right. Especially when it comes from one of the fast food chains, then I'm like, what's the point, you know? It'll feed you like, and
barely.
You're satisfied for like 5 minutes, and then you know all the sugar kicks in, and you start craving again. But yeah, so that's probably overrated. Underrated, good fries.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, fries really make it for me. I mean, even if the burger is really well done, I mean properly done, not well done. If it's properly cooked and nicely seasoned and prepared with great ingredients, but the fries are terrible, it kind of kills the experience.
It does. Yeah, it does.
And also, you know, usually when I try to, or when we're out and about and I meet people, and you, even though you're not super hungry, and you say, well, okay, let's have a nice salad or some grilled chicken, whatever. But there's a group of people, then I'll always say, and get us an extra portion of fries, and we'll share it. You know, so it's that's something that brings everybody back together, and it's one thing you put in the middle to share.
Oh yeah,
I don't get to eat my fries when I have fast food. My wife, she eats all the fries,
and she says, but before you order, she says, no, I don't want any fries.
Oh no, she gets her own too.
Oh, she gets her own too, but then she takes
the
yours.
Irish comes out of her when it comes to fries. That's why I order tater tots when we go out.
Oh, she doesn't like tots?
No.
Oh.
Not as much as she likes fries.
Just yesterday, my family and I went to have updated family photographs taken. And afterwards, we went to have sort of a late lunch. But we said, okay, we have dinner later. So we're just going to stop at a pub and get a few appetizers to share. And this place had chili cheese tater tots.
Yum.
And they actually made the chili in their own kitchen. And it was, oh my goodness. So the whole family just dove into those and they were a big hit. Definitely. All right, Justin.
All right, Reinhard. You ready? The zombies are coming. You get to pick 3 people from the cigar industry on your zombie apocalypse survival squad. Who do you pick and why?
It's funny. Every time I watch your show, I think about which ones would I take?
Mm-hmm.
And then you come on the show and you're still unprepared as fuck.
Now you're on the spot.
Okay. I would have to pick George Brightman because I am blessed to consider him a brother and a most dearly loved friend now. And we try to get together weekly or just regularly, at least, to smoke cigars together and discuss tobaccos, cigars, history, everything. And I don't know any other person with such a broad knowledge and understanding and experience of the industry at large like George. Incredible palate. So in terms of what there is to learn about tobacco and cigars, he's just a legend and a lexicon. So he'd have to be there.
Yes. And you need somebody that you can outrun. We always say that jokingly. Or somebody who
has the firepower,
has a lot of guns. Somebody who has a lot of guns, I guess. I don't know. Or somebody who can provide you with shelter or transportation, food.
I'd love to take Jeff Borshowitz.
Because
he's, I think he's an extremely smart businessman. He has a wide spectrum of things that he's involved with, whether that's in the agriculture, the retail side of things, the political / lobbying and fighting for our rights. And so I think he has a lot of fighting power. He has a lot of drive and energy, a lot of stamina in terms of business mindset and entrepreneurial spirit. And lastly, of course, I would take Jeremiah because the whole thing needs to go down in style and with uber luxury. So
yes,
here's my dream squad.
I love that.
Good one.
Fantastic. All right, let's jump into this week's notable smokables, everybody, and those brought to us by our friends at Luciano Cigars. Notable cigars, notable passion, notable purpose. So each week we name a cigar that we smoked recently that was notable to us. Now, this could be a cigar that's been on the market for many decades that we just smoked for the first time in a very long time, or this could be a cigar that's brand new to the market that we smoked for the first time ever. Now, Reinhard, obviously you're mostly smoking stuff from Marifel cigars, but if you get a chance to jump, I know it's spoiled, but if you get a chance to jump outside of the Marifel family of cigars, is there something you smoked recently that really stood out to you?
So thankfully, I'm part of the Cigar Journal blind tasting panel, so I get to experience quite a few different cigars and recent additions to the market, but blindly. So I don't know what they are, which is a tremendous learning experience. The unfortunate thing with that is I can't tell you whatever I found interesting out of that pack.
Yeah.
No, but just for real, one thing that really struck me, and I thoroughly enjoyed the cigar, also because I love the guy behind it and everything about the brand, was a Cochon Volant from the Aviator series from Principal Cigars, Darren Jaffee.
Yeah. I have
big shout out to Darren. He makes some incredible stuff, and he doesn't get the recognition for it that he deserves, I find, because he's a very humble person and he doesn't like to put his face front and center of every show, social media, and the industry in general. But he deserves a lot of credit for the stuff he does.
I have smoked one of his cigars. It was a long time ago.
Principal?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a couple of those. Accomplice, I think, is one that
I know the one that I smoked. Because I take pictures now of every cigar. I used to paste the bands in a notebook, but since the days of smartphones, I take pictures.
Yeah.
And usually leave a few notes, but I remember really enjoying that cigar that I had.
The band's like usually a fabric.
I think it was a ribbon or a fabric instead of paper.
Yep.
But the cigar was great flavor, great aroma, really nice one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Justin, what was your notable this week?
I'm going with something. It's a classic, but Camacho Corojo. I had one sitting around for a couple years now. I dove in the box and, had that on a little drive back and forth, and it was a good one. Yeah.
Very nice. Mr. Ramos, notable.
It was notable because it knocked me on my ass. Red Meat Lovers.
Oh, the new one?
The new one. I was, even though I heard it was strong, I'm like, whatever. I'll eat something before. But yeah, it put me on my ass.
Strong.
It was heavy. Yeah, strong.
Yeah, I haven't smoked this year's yet. I'm excited to try it. I have one that I'm waiting to light up.
7-course meal before you eat it.
Right.
Well, so I'm one of those weird people that doesn't really affect me. I could smoke a Neanderthal first thing in the morning, and I don't feel a thing. I'm weird. I'm very strange.
Not weird. I'm the same way.
Yeah. I just don't. It doesn't really hit me. I think twice in my life, I've had a cigar where I felt that strong cigar feeling that people talk about. I'm just weird.
All right, then Saturday morning, let's get together and smoke one. I'll give you one Red Meat Lovers, and you can smoke it.
Like 6 a.m.
Yeah, as soon as you get up.
Yeah.
Brush your teeth and let's smoke them.
I'll think about it. I'll let you know. So my notable this week was one that I hadn't smoked in years. Not like a ton of years, maybe 2 or 3 years. The Tatuaje Nuevitas Esteli. And I bought a box of them when they first came out, or I guess it was sort of a re-release. It was like Pete's first ever cigar back in 07 or whenever it was, 04.
Yeah.
And then when he re-released it, I want to say in 2017, 2018, somewhere in there, I bought a box and found one in my humidor a few days ago and smoked it. And man, I just really like that cigar because it's that Esteli version. So it's got, a little more Ligero in it, just a little amped up, but just great balance, great pop. The aroma on it is just so spicy, but then the sweetness that you get on the palate is, man, love that cigar. I hadn't smoked one in a couple of years, so it's good finding those, remembering those cigars. Yep. Like, oh, I forgot how good this one is.
It's like rediscovering a band.
Totally. That's a good example. Yeah, absolutely. So all right, so that was this week's Notable Smokables, brought to you by Luciano Cigars, improving lives through fine cigars. Visit lucianocigars.com to learn more. All right, let's talk about the coming attractions for the rest of 2023.
What?
And those are brought to us by AJ Fernandez. Born and raised in Cuba, AJ Fernandez now produces unparalleled premium cigars in Esteli, Nicaragua. The AJ Fernandez portfolio of cigars provides blend, strength, and flavor profiles to match the preferences of any premium cigar consumer. Whether it's New World, Dias de Gloria, San Lotano, Enclave, or Bellas Artes, you are sure to be satisfied with a premium cigar from AJ Fernandez. All right, guys, so we only have 2 shows left in this calendar year. Next Monday night on December 11th, we have Ed Trevino from Luciano Cigars. And then closing out the year, our last show of the year is going to be on December 18th. And that's when we do our year in review show. Not to be confused with the Cigar of the Year show. That's different. This the year in review show on the 18th. That's when we take the box off the wall with all the bands in it. Talk about the stuff we smoked during the year. We'll talk about some of the bigger newsworthy events of the year in premium cigars, and give a chance to say thank you to our viewers and stuff like that. So that's coming up on the 18th. And then leading into 2024
Already?
I believe our Cigar of the Year show is going to be on January 8th. And then we have some guests already on the books for the rest of January. So we will make sure you guys know about that.
But feel free, if you guys miss us, email us, call us.
Yeah.
We'll respond.
Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram. Yeah.
All that
fun stuff. Well, Reinhard, my friend, my brother, we are so grateful that you got up so early for us this morning. We just had a fantastic conversation. We appreciate your heart, your openness, and your perspective. And we wish you and yours a fantastic close to 2023, a great holiday season. And brother, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. What a privilege. Thank you. What a pleasure.
We appreciate you.
All right, viewers and listeners, guys, we are so grateful to you as always for watching live on YouTube and live on Facebook. Thank you so much for being the absolute best part of How About That Cigar. We appreciate you so much. Take just a minute, go to all of our channels, go to the YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss anything that we have going on. Follow us on Facebook and like us on Facebook. You will find us on all your favorite social media platforms at HBT Cigar. If you have questions for any of us, you can email us on the website, howaboutthatcigar.com. And of course, guys, until we see you next time, burn cigars,
not bridges.
Thanks, guys. Any comments, opinions, viewpoints, or statements presented or uttered by guests on the HBTC podcast, HBTC live video streams, and all other media from HBT Media LLC are solely those of the individual and do not necessarily represent the opinions or viewpoints of How About That Cigar or its parent company, HBT Media LLC, any of our advertising partners, or the premium cigar industry. The primary purpose of How About That Cigar is to entertain and to encourage activity and growth within the community of people who enjoy or want to learn about the enjoyment